Hello and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Rondi Lambeth. As you know, I have been off, taking a little vacation, had a little health issues last year, got divorced, lost 60 pounds, and I've just really been working on me. So today is fitting that I have this special guest in. I don't think I could pick a better guest than today. So my guest today is co-founder, chief educational officer of WealthFit.com, an online learning startup focused on teaching you all the stuff you never learned in school about money, investing, and entrepreneurship. He's also the host of WealthFit podcast. He's had people on his show like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, racing legend Danica Patrick, Kevin Harrington, Marquee Jet founder Jesse Itzler, Dennis Rodman, Superman Rob O'Neill. If you guys don't know who he is, SEAL Team 6 team leader that shot Osama bin Laden, and a lot of other people. So I am super excited to have Dustin Mathews on the show.
Rondi, excited to be here.
Dude, I cannot, literally I was sitting here because my producer booked this with you.
Yep.
And I was thinking, I haven't had anybody on the show in 9 months.
It's time.
Yeah. I think June of 2019. So it's been a while. So you're like the perfect guest.
Let's do it.
To have on the show. Especially your background. We met, I don't think you remember, but we met in LA in 2013.
It's crazy that you know that.
At a Dave Van Hoos Speaking Empire event.
That's
you
right.
were there. You and Dave used to be business partners.
That's right.
And I get to see Dave every 90 days now with one of my masterminds. So it was interesting that we run into each other again. Because I don't think we've seen each other since
I don't think so.
7 years
Maybe
ago.
Online, right?
Yeah. So super cool. So you've transitioned.
Yep.
You went from Speaking Empire, which was probably one of the greatest speaker training platforms out there.
Oh, shucks. Thank you.
Right? Weren't you guys on? Were you part of Dave's thing with the Fortune 500 list with his
I was.
foreclosure stuff, right?
Yeah. I was there. I like to say I had read Rich Dad, Poor Dad and got excited. So Dave essentially was my rich dad in that I went to a RIA club, an investor club, and I said, hey, listen, teach me how to do real estate, and I'll work for free. I was fresh out of school, had nothing going for me, partied a little too much, and so basically I was like his right hand sidekick. And it was there, like real estate, I found out wasn't my thing at the time. It was marketing, and so I studied Dan Kennedy and classic direct response stuff. And so we grew that company on seminars and online marketing, and I was the chief marketing guy there when we hit the Inc. 500.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how long ago did you leave that place?
Oh, man, that was a while ago. I ended up leaving because you're going to love this. I exited. We had all these gurus coming in, right, teaching people how to do real estate education. And I'm like, man, I got to go do this. But like real estate wasn't my thing. So I'm like, I'm going to do marketing or something. I walk into a mastermind and there's a business credit guy there. And so like I pitch and I'm like, all you speakers, you need better marketing, because I was the guy having to figure it out and no one would give me anything. And I'm like, you need to make this easier. If you gave people marketing, you'd have more people in your rooms. So there's this business credit guy there and he signs up for my package and a marketing package. And I'm starting to read and I'm like, you can get business credit. Now this was back 2000, like when credit was flowing like candy.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm signing up for your stuff. And so I got $93,000 in business credit. I'm like, this is my new product that I'm selling. And so I was a business credit marketer guru at one point, and then exited that, and then started Speaking Empire with Dave.
Who was the business credit guy?
Mark Bravo in California. He wasn't a name. He walked into a mastermind, and I'm like, listen, he was doing it as a service for people locally. And I'm like, do you know about this thing, info marketing? I'm like, we can productize what your process is and sell a course on how to do it. And we did for a little bit.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So now you're with WealthFit.
Yep.
And you've been here for a little while.
About, year and a half now.
So you went from Florida.
That's right.
To San Diego.
That's right.
Which one do you like better?
I like San Diego. There's a diversity. It is dense here, I'll tell you. Coming from Florida, meaning like I feel like everything's packed. And I live, somewhat in the city, close to the city, and so like it's built up. It's a big city, and so it's dense. But like the weather is beautiful. Like no
nice.
humidity, no mosquitoes, no hurricanes, no alligators in your pool.
Yeah.
So
I lived here for 2 years. I've spent a lot of time here in San Diego, and I like it. You know what I don't like?
What?
Is their taxes.
Yeah, me too. And I went from like the worst, like going from nothing.
You went from nothing to 13 to worst.
Yeah.
So here it says your mission is to make the world's best education on money, investing, entrepreneurship accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
Online, on demand. How are you doing that?
I like to say we're like the Netflix of wealth education. So we built a platform from the ground up, and the kind of the thought behind this was like, at my previous businesses, everything was about putting money back into the business, and I thought I was going to get some like massive payday at the end of it. Now, we never were even close. We never were building a business with processes and systems like to that level, nor could we scale it. But like that's a lot of people's vision, right? And I'm like, I wish I had been smarter with money, personally. Like I did some investments, but I wasn't strategic with it. So the idea was like, let's create a platform where people can come and get information on money management, how to manage their money better, budget it, savings, finance, that sort of thing. But not only that, boost active income. So maybe you are in a job, right? Go do a side hustle, try something out, go drive for Uber or Lyft if you want to do that. But what we really would love you to do is go start that next business. And then once you do that and you boost your active income, you got to put that money to work. And that's where I failed before. I didn't put most of my money into passive investment. So I was always having to work. There was that ego part of it. And so we built a platform to cover no matter where you're at in that journey. There is a course waiting for you on WealthFit that will show you from an expert in that space.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's something that I didn't learn the first couple times through. Mm-hmm. And then started getting some coaching.
Yeah.
And it was, you're spending too much money. You need to start investing it. So about 4 years ago, I started just slowly spending less, saving more, stacking and racking.
Yep.
And I can now say that I have enough stacked and racked through my apartment complexes that I could literally check out and never work another day in my life. I wouldn't live the same lifestyle I have now.
Yeah.
But I'm only living on about 10% of what I make.
Yeah.
All the rest I'm stacking it and I'm buying, I'm investing. And I didn't go from, spending 100% to living off of 10%.
Yeah.
It took years. And that's something when I coach people is let's start with 1%.
Yeah.
Let's get you to 5, get you to 10.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming in your program, you have the same type of philosophy that you slowly build that up. And with my grandson, for example, he's on salary with my company.
Yep.
He's our janitor.
Yep.
And he comes to my office every day. He empties the trash. He gets a paycheck.
Yep.
But he only gets to have 50% of the money. He's got to pay his taxes.
Yep.
He's got to pay his tithe. He's got to invest it. But he only gets 50% to spend. And since I've been training him over the last 3 years, what's funny is he doesn't want to spend it. He only wants to spend a little bit. Yeah. And he likes to look at that bank account balance.
So smart.
And, I get him to do his financial statement. And I let him, on paper, he's an investor in my apartment complexes. And I put extra zeros, or not zeros, but I add interest and payouts and all that stuff.
Yeah.
To show him from a young age that this is where it's at. And I think if we start training our children to live off of 50% and invest the rest, then you can do anything you want.
Yeah.
You're not stuck at your 8 to 5 job or 9 to 5. You can go out and coach basketball if that's what you want to do, because the money's no longer what is making you go to work.
Yeah.
Your passion is there. So
I'm with you. I wish I had that growing up. Mine's been more of the entrepreneurial route where it backs up against the wall. So you take out that credit card. If you're smarter, you have a business credit card, right? As you teach. And so it's always been that way. It's never been like, I never had that resource of a war chest. And even more important than even a war chest or a little fund to get you going is the mindset on how to manage that money and to live off of it. And we're spot on with you. We actually have a track inside WealthFit called WealthFit Teen, dedicated to getting teens ready before they, move on to college if they're going to go that route or start that business, instilling these principles in all different areas because we believe it's so critical. Get them young, teach them. I'm starting to do that with my kids, and it's powerful.
Yeah. Start them young for sure. So you guys have a unique definition of wealth. What is it?
Well, I call it unique, but after spending some time with you, I think it's very similar to your definition. And wealth. It's so easy to say money. Wealth is money. A lot of people associate it, and true, a large part of it is that. And it's really the way we define it is the ability to do like what you want, and it's an ability of time. Right, to go, fish or spend time with your grandkids or whatever it is. It's obviously an abundance of money, and it's an abundance of impact or influence. And what that means is, like, if you want to go start a charity, or if you want to go take some time off and pursue your passions, then you have that ability to do that. And so that's our unique definition of wealth, and I find it to be very similar to yours. Is that this is a journey. And you can make better decisions if you do have money, if you do have wealth, and your path in life can be a lot different. But that takes some education, that takes some thinking through, some planning, things that people often avoid, myself included early on in my career. And so that's what we look to do, is change that path for people.
Yeah, you and I have almost identical opinions on wealth. I'm part of a group called Arte Syndicate. Have you heard of Arte yet? So last year, we had 34,000 people apply. They accepted 50. Whoa. And I was one of the chosen few. And we're 6 months into our event. We just got back from Whistler.
Okay.
And what's surprising is we don't talk about money at all in the group. But that's why we all thought we were joining, was to be around all these guys. There's guys in there that make $300-400 million a year.
Yeah.
Andy Frisella's in there. He's doing $350 million a year.
Yeah.
Ed Milet's in there, almost a billionaire. There's a few billionaires in the group, but we don't talk about money.
Yeah. Because
wealth is not necessarily money. Ed said last night on a call that we had, he just walked away from $250 million salary. Mm-hmm. To go back into the fight because he wants to compete again in the financial services. And he's getting bored being on top. So now he gave up his $250 million lifetime salary to go back into the trenches, fight down with everybody else so he can get back on stage and get his belt and get his rings and all that recognition that you get inside these companies. Yeah. So it's interesting that it's nothing to do with money.
Absolutely.
At all. So why do you think people aren't wealthy? More people aren't wealthy.
I look back to education, right? Like what you're doing with your grandson. Our parents, if we're fortunate, like, you shared your story with me earlier, like you definitely weren't getting that education, from your parents. And even those that grow up, I would say in a better situation than financially, than you grew up in, if you got the mother and the father that are making 50 or even 100,000 a year, they're often just trying to keep up with the Joneses. They're often, just trying to make a living, just get by. And, unless your dad is, on TV and is a financial expert or guru, you're not getting this stuff from your parents. You're definitely not getting it from your teacher. So in school, how can you expect a teacher who's making, 40,000 sometimes, gosh, if they're tenured to 65,000, how can you expect them that, that's not their thing. And then, as like you go to a financial planner, and I always love to tell the story. One of my partner, Andy, when he was 21, he was taking a test to become a financial planner, ended up saying, I don't want to do it, and walk away. But literally, at 21-year-old, you can get a certificate, and now you are licensed to give people advice about money. And I'm not here to knock financial planners. I'm just saying, like, that system is not the best system. And so you have these three different things that are out there that are available to people, most available to people, and yet we believe it's not the way. And so that's why we believe people aren't wealthy, is they just don't have access to the right kinds of information. And that's our goal. That's our hope, is to get this information into their hands. Unconventional information, not talking head. And I know you've been in the media a lot, and you know who the names are, of popular people out there. That's information for the masses. We like to think that, people that, subscribe to WealthFit, that listen to the show, are unconventional. They want to push, the envelope. They want to set their own path.
Yeah. Yeah, I find that interesting, the discount Daves and the scarcity Susies out there that push that narrative to the masses. And I think it's a narrative for lazy people. They don't want to take the effort to learn.
Yeah.
And they're okay with being normal, and they're okay with being average.
Yeah.
And I'm not okay with being average or normal.
Yeah.
I don't want an average life or normal life. And
Yeah.
I know you don't. And I don't want it for my family. I don't want it for my friends. And I don't want it for my listeners. I want to make a difference. And you're the same way.
Yeah.
You want everybody to have an unnormal life.
That's right. I like how you said that. The other thing that you kind of spawned in me, as we chatted earlier today, I kind of popped in my head that, maybe some people don't want certain information out there, or they put out, misinformation, as you've, said and shared with me. And so, yes, I think, some people are inherently lazy. It's just easier to, kind of watch and tune into Netflix and binge watch and all that. No hate against that, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's easy to do that. But also too, I think, I'm starting to understand how the financial system works. And, obviously there's people way to the right, there's people on the left. And so there, is a lot of stuff out there. It's very easy just to give people information, make their lives marginally happier, and people profit from that,
Yeah.
And we could spend a whole show on that. And so what I'm saying is that, I think there's other factors at play, and it's up to the individual to take charge of their life, to chart that course. But if you just want to check out, that's fine too. But just realize that's what you're doing, and you're probably going to get what most people have, which is financial stress and burden and bad credit scores, as you know, right?
Yeah.
And so, we're here to change that.
Yeah, there's I like Netflix. I like Amazon Prime. Mm-hmm. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with binge watching. If you want to watch 3 hours TV a night,
do it.
Fine.
Yeah.
Just don't bitch to me that you have crappy credit and you're in debt to your eyeballs.
Yeah.
And you don't like your wife, and you don't like if that's your life, don't complain about it.
Yep.
Right?
Amen.
Here's something I learned with hanging out with a lot of wealthy people, celebrities, unknown. It's not that they're unknown billionaires, but billionaires that you don't know who they are.
Yeah.
Jesse Itzler, for example.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He's not a billionaire, but his wife is.
Yeah.
But you would never know.
Yeah.
Right? But what I found was rich people teach their kids about money.
Yeah.
Like I'm teaching my grandson. I taught my kids about money.
Yep.
And I learned all of that through Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah.
And then playing cash flow. I played cash flow with my kids. I still play cash flow with my kids.
Yep.
It's one of the games that we play on a regular basis. During Thanksgiving when they were at my house, we played cash flow. A couple weeks ago, I used my credit card points. I do this every year. I fly my family somewhere. So this year we went to Dominican Republic, stayed at a resort for 2 weeks, used my points to pay for everything, and we played board games every night.
That's cool.
Cash flow was one of them.
I love it.
Right? But rich people teach and educate their kids about money.
Yeah.
An interesting fact that I come across recently, and it was the Jewish population in the United States is 5% of Americans that associate with being Jewish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know they control over 25% of the wealth in America?
Wow.
But it's only 5%.
Yeah.
What's the difference? Their culture, their religion teaches investing and wealth building and staying out of consumer debt. Discount Dave will tell you debt is dumb.
Yeah.
Cash is king. That's not true.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have $33 million of debt. It is really good debt.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It also has 500 apartment complexes attached to that $33 million.
Yeah.
That's good debt. I don't have any personal debt. right?
Yep.
So debt is not dumb. Consumer debt's dumb. So I think rich people train their kids because they know that our education system is set up to train employees, not entrepreneurs,
Right.
not free thinkers. We're trained to memorize. The bell goes off. Whatever. We go back inside. We sit down.
Yep.
Then when you go to work, the bell goes off. You go back to work, right?
Yep.
So I think that's why more people aren't wealthy. It's part of the way our country wants us. It's our culture of training employees, and it's our responsibility to go out and do it.
Absolutely.
It's our responsibility to learn the tax code.
Yes.
Some of it, right?
Yeah. I mean, my journey, I mean, all of our journeys it's really, if you look at it, it's adding more levels of responsibility, unless you're sort of checking out and just kind of, living that life. But, as you get older, you get kids. As you get older, you get more responsibility. And so, I've had some personal, challenges early on. I was always avoiding the tax thing, and that was like a reoccurring theme in my life. And so then I got real about it and started taking on that responsibility. And, lo and behold, here I am looking through a tax return, and I'm trying to make sense of the numbers and starting to get it. Whereas before it was like, oh, I'm just going to hire, whoever I can, who's the best guy, and just abdicate. But like, that's a challenge, because I would give people advice like, you need to go educate so you can direct the captain of you're the captain of your ship. Yeah. No one cares about your money more than you do. And so you got to be educated. And so here I was, speaking out of two sides, and I got real with it. And I said, like, I got to take this on responsibility. Now, this doesn't mean I got to go understand the tax code, but I got to be smart enough. I got to do these interviews. I got to write notes down so I can say, hey, well, what about this strategy? And I pitch that to my person. And if they don't know about it, I might be in trouble. Like, I got to go find somebody else. And so, like, that's our job, is to build this power team, as you know, of advisors in your world. But you got to be the quarterback. They're not going to know your whole situation. And so, you got to take control.
Yeah, speaking of power team and educating yourself, if you go to the show notes, there'll be a link to Robert Kiyosaki's personal tax advisor, Tom Wheelwright, which is also...
We've had him.
You had Tom on the show?
Yeah.
On your show? Yeah,
he's
great guy, right?
Yeah, and he created a course at WealthFit too. So,
he did. Perfect.
Educating people, like, that's the primer, if you want to call it that, of it. And having him as your advisor is good. And you should still know, even if, hey, he sits at the right hand of Kiyosaki, you should still know and be up on it, right? Because that's always changing, and you should know that.
Yeah, I think of it this way. Arguably, and I'm not a big sports guy. I really don't follow it much, but I know a few of the players.
Yeah.
Tom Brady.
Yep.
Arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
Yeah.
I hung out with Peyton Manning literally 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
One of the greatest quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Do you think Peyton Manning would go over to the ref and ask the ref for advice on the next play?
Heck no.
No. But that's like us going to our CPA who works under the IRS. They are the ref. So asking your CPA for tax advice is like asking the ref, what play should I play?
Yeah.
Their job is to make sure the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed.
Yeah.
They're not tax professionals or tax planners, tax reduction planners. They're tax preparers.
Yeah.
So it's your responsibility to get somebody like Tom Wheelwright or get a book and learn about it.
Yep.
Because it's our biggest expense. I did a video this morning on the way to your studio. I flew Alaskan Airlines. I generally always fly first class. I use my reward points, so it doesn't really cost me anything. Why wouldn't I be comfortable?
Yeah.
Right? I got millions of points. Let's use them.
Yeah.
I'm leaving here in San Diego in your studio. I'm going to Florida for a week. I'm going to be with Kevin Harrington, Dave Van Hoos, and a lot of mutual friends.
Yep.
So I got a big bag. Well, I didn't want to take 2 bags. So my bag was 51.5 pounds. Now, normally, first class is 80 pounds.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Their limit's 50 pounds.
Oh.
So she said, it's going to be $100. I said, what do you mean $100? She's like, you're over 50 pounds, or you can take something out. And so I took my CPAP machine out, which was like 3.5 pounds.
Yep.
Technically, I should get an exemption because it is a medically required device.
Yeah.
But she's like, well, it's 50, whatever. I'm like, well, I don't want to fight with you. I was already late.
Yeah.
My Uber driver went and do more than 60 miles an hour in a 75. So I was like, I got to get through. So anyway, I took it out. I put it in, but then I did video on it. It's hidden tax.
Yeah.
So not only do we have personal income tax, but we have hidden taxes like baggage fees.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
NSF fees, ATM fees. Yes, they're not a tax, but they are a tax.
Yeah.
And we make our money, we pay income tax on what we make, and then we pay property tax on what we have left over, and then we pay sales tax on the stuff we put in our house.
Yeah.
And then we pay, depending on the state, taxes every year based on what you have inside your house or business.
Yeah.
Like in Nevada, my company's in Nevada. I have to do a quarterly tax return. And every year I got to pay taxes on computers that I've paid sales tax on and personal income tax or personal property tax. Same thing with California.
Yeah.
So we have all these taxes. And I know you're not necessarily a tax guy. You're a WealthFit guy.
Yeah.
But taxes are our biggest expense.
Yeah.
The last time I flew into California, I always fly into Ramona.
Mm-hmm.
Generally because when I fly my plane, because the marine layer doesn't get out there.
Okay.
So I go back, I fly back to Tahoe. I get this bill in the mail for $36,000 from the state of California. Sales tax, unpaid sales tax on the airplane that I did not buy in California. I bought it in Nevada.
Yeah.
So I call them and I'm like, I'm not paying it. They said, well, that's fine. You got to prove that you keep it outside of outside of California. So I sent them a copy of my lease. But I was talking to my attorney about it, my tax attorney.
Yeah.
And he's like, California anyone who flies a private plane in, they'll write down the tail number and they send you a bill.
Wow.
So when you have large companies like yours, your COO, your CFO, or your accountant or whatever doesn't know. And so they just write a check and they just send it in.
That's crazy.
And that's another hidden tax.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you are doing something to help people with wealth. I'm glad to hear that you have Tom Wheelwright through your system because that's really important.
Well, that was the goal, was to get the best. And, I'm not going to put you on the spot here, but, we're always looking for, amazing people that are like doing it and not like some professor at a university, but like in the streets, does it on a day-to-day. And so, Wheelwright like has the bit, is doing it and he's educated. We like that too, like when they're educated, because it's one thing to be the expert and to be doing it. And we know sometimes we've run into those experts and they're, not sometimes the best presenters, or they don't do a great job simplifying, right? And so when you can find a magic combo like yourself, that's a win-win. And so that's what we do is we go out, we vet, and we find who the expert is on that, and we do a deal and say, hey, listen, come create a course for our audience here so they can find out who's the world's best in these categories.
Yeah, I'm excited about coming back and doing a course with you.
Cool. I think there it is. Great, it's on record, baby.
Yep, it's on record. So what do you mean when you say WealthFit?
We mean mindset. That, someone that's WealthFit is somebody that's continually educating themselves, right? Somebody adding new levels of responsibility, somebody that understands that not all debt is bad debt. And you were talking about this earlier. There is a difference. There's bad debt, consumer debt, right? And then there's good debt, like you, $33 million of good debt leveraged into assets that produce income. And so somebody that is WealthFit is somebody that understands that there is a path to creating wealth. There is an unconventional way to go about things. And it's someone that is really committed to that, to bettering themselves personally, right? I know you mentioned it earlier, 60 pounds, right? Like you're developing yourself in that area. Relationships, like with your grandson, you're doing obviously business building. You're in masterminds, apartment, complexes, right? So investing financially, taxes, that sort of thing. And so that's what we mean about being wealthy. It's somebody that's dedicated to bettering themselves in all areas of life, not just financially.
What's interesting is we never really even talked 7 years ago. I just met you through Dave.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I was a guest. I helped Dave out with something. He invited me to there.
Yeah.
But we're almost identical
Yeah.
in our ideas of wealth and what we're doing outside of each other. We're doing basically the same thing.
Yeah.
You're focusing on the wealthy part of it. I'm doing a little bit of that, but I focus on the credit and tax side of it.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting how the quantum.
Yeah.
I was hanging out with Joe Dispenza recently, and the quantum, the fourth dimension, how that works. So.
Yeah, I think people come in and out of people's lives, and like, we didn't really, like, you were working with my former partner Dave, and you guys connected, and so like we were close, right, to connecting, right? But maybe I wasn't ready for this conversation yet. I kind of think about back to that time in my life. I'm not as far along as I am in a lot of areas that we're talking about today. So I wouldn't have connected. So it sort of makes sense that you've come back, or we're back in each other's lives now at this time, because now I can.
And I think it was Daryl Hill that reintroduced us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Daryl, I met at a mastermind. We believe in the power of these things, and so he's like, you guys need to reconnect. I didn't know it was a reconnect, but it was like, you guys need to connect, and that's so funny because I was in I was in that mastermind, and that's really where it set the seed of like the next level of responsibility for me. My path to wealth was what I was doing prior wasn't going to lead to where I'm at today, and so it's funny, like he's had an impact.
Yeah, when I was sitting in the break room, green room, I was looking at all the people on your slideshow.
Oh yeah. I
was like, I know him, I know him,
Yep.
I know her.
Yeah.
And it's funny how your circle is very small.
Yeah.
In that industry, Roland Frazier.
Yep.
And all the other guys that were up on there.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting how that whole thing, the quantum works, and the universe pulls people together that are on the same mission, the same goals, the same values.
Yeah.
It's just pulling everybody together.
What I'm most excited, I 100% agree with you. When I moved out here, like I had a bunch of East Coast connection. I wasn't quite a traveler like you, jet setter. And so I had a bunch of East Coast connections. And so I brought these things forward. And then, some people came, through osmosis or whatever you want to call it. And what I'm most excited about is we're making a big focus to be known, or how do I want to say it? Like, we're just going to be more of a presence in the personal finance arena. And so despite all the people that we know and connections, I'm going into this world, and it's a whole new world I haven't played in, like this FinCon community, FIRE movement. Right? Like you hear all these terms. And so like, I'm super fascinated by bringing some of my friends, my relationships into that world, because that's where we're headed. And I know we will be an impact there, and crossbreeding. And I look to find, folks of high caliber, like you say, in the quantum, to bring them over and marinate. And so it just goes to show you that like it does attract like, and as much as you think like, like this universe is this big, or this circle of friends or whatever, there's infinite possibilities. There's a bunch more stuff awaiting us. We just have to get out of that pond and go there.
Yeah. Well, it's been great having you on the show. I'm glad.
Thank you, sir.
Like I said, I haven't done a show in so long. This is awesome that you're the guest that I have on to come back.
Yeah.
So how do people find you?
Best way I would say is to check out WealthFit, wealthfit.com/Dustin. And this is what I would say, Rondi. If folks like this conversation, I know we only scratched the surface. You cover some of this stuff as well when you put out shows and obviously the courses that you have. But if people liked my style for whatever reason, I encourage them to check out wealthfit.com/Dustin. There is a wealth building course that kind of gets into what our philosophy about wealth is over at WealthFit. Got the show, the Get WealthFit show. They can check that out on iTunes and wherever they do. And they can always look me up on the good old social, Dustin Mathews with one T. It's the unique way to spell Mathews, Dustin Mathews on the social. So
awesome. Well, it's been great having you on here. I want to do an announcement. As you guys know, I'm the founder of Fortress Credit Pro. Over the last 13 years, we have fixed hundreds of thousands of people's credit. And by far the most successful paid-on results credit repair company in America, where we charge on performance or results. But I found that it wasn't helping enough people. So as of 2 weeks ago, Fortress Credit Pro now offers free credit repair. And the way that works is you have to have an active subscription to Credit Mojo, which is another one of our companies. They are going to pay us a small commission to refer you over to them. But Fortress will fix your credit. You will never receive a bill. You'll never get a monthly fee, a setup fee, a retainer fee, no bill whatsoever from Fortress, as long as you have an active $39 account with Credit Mojo, so we can look at your credit report, because you have to have monitoring service regardless of where you go, because it's the X-ray. It's how we see what's on your credit report. So if you've been waiting to get your credit fixed, the time is now, because it's free. You pay for the credit monitoring service, you get it. So for more information on that, go to fortresscreditpro.com/free credit repair. Again, fortresscreditpro.com/free credit repair. And it's also in the show link. So Dustin, thanks again for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. That was fun.
Yeah. See you later.
Later.